Welcome everybody, this is Jacob Shoup, you're watching the Tom O'Brien Show. We are gonna do it a little bit like the ancestors today. We're getting our AC repaired and it is hot. It is hot with the windows open, so I'm sorry if you hear the bamboo rattling, but it's beautiful. This show is definitely dedicated to the settlers and natives of Florida who were in this land before air conditioning. I'm not built for this kind of heat, so that's very fun. Speaking of heat, the market is heating up as well. Man, in the face of CPI, you kind of bounced back a little bit yesterday, at least from the trade down in the, in the morning. And then we're moving today on PPI numbers. I mean, you're up 0.96% at 609.15 right now in the composite, trading up 1.32%. Excuse me, that was in the SPY. In the composite, you're trading up 1.31% at 19,908. You have the Dow Jones Industrial up about 0.77% at 44,711. Look at the Russell right there, okay? Up 0.95%. These are the futures at 2,284. You get the dollar trading off about 0.45% at 107.28. Of course, you have T-bills going up. You know, there has been so much conversation, really comments by Elon Musk and some posturing from some of the larger hedge funds getting in, definitely to short-dated notes, but the 10-year as well. I mean, Elon Musk has been saying consistently you're going to have a price increase in the 10-year. You know, we were speaking about that as well. One of the ways that Trump can achieve kind of lower interest rates, which is what he's been talking about. Now, of course, he tried to, I think kind of shoulder check the Fed a little bit. It didn't necessarily work. I don't think the Fed should really do that to save their face. But of course, Trump, if he does, the sovereign wealth fund can buy a ton of 10-year notes, which I think is probably the way that he's thinking about it. Of course, this news cycle is so rapid that kind of conversation goes away for a little bit. You're pretty much flat in crude futures right now, trading at 71.36. Let's see here, the gold contract up 0.84% at 9,953. You got copper, man, that continual march upward at $4.78, trading up 1.6%. Let's see how Southern Copper did on earnings. I believe they had earnings. Okay, so I mean, kind of right on there, but they've recovered quite well from it, at least right now. Okay, not necessarily closing that gap, but you're trading up 2.59% today at 96.70. Let's see what else we got cooking. Celsius, man, this has been, I say volatile. It hasn't really been because the movements are pretty similar day to day. I mean, you're down 3% one day, up 3% the next day. Trading up right now 4.32% at $22.20. You got Disney up 0.31% at 109.57. Really, at some certain point, again, you question these kind of streaming services that it's just not really working out for them. I would like to think that it would have been far, far better for them just to really license that out to someone who already had that platform. I'm not sure, again, what the logic was behind that. Of course, this is old news, too. Tesla. What the heck, man? So, I mean, you're down, right, at least from the high of the day. You are trading up totally 5.24% at 354.17. Still, I mean, I think the thesis that we had is still correct. This really should give back the Trump rally. But again, a lot of times this is divorced from the reality of the numbers and the condition that the market is in. So what are we looking at here? Okay, you had the headline come out that it looks like the U.S. government was going to spend $400 million over 5 years with Tesla to develop armored Tesla vehicles. Okay, this was, it seems, something that Biden was actually working on, and it kind of just gets carried through in the Trump administration. You can go look at kind of those numbers. I think there was around December 15th or something. Those were released. So this is not some just new contract coming out. Of course, it is news to retail. So, I mean, you have that angle to it. Of course, you've now started to have insane price points for Tesla being thrown out by some of these big analyst firms. I mean, that's the highest I saw was 550, which is pretty wild. Now, I mean, 400 million over 5 years. I mean, it's 80 million revenue per year. You're talking about a company that's not even speaking about what the margins on that would be. I couldn't imagine that they're very large because I don't think their margins are very large right now. But it's not necessarily clear. 80 million each year for 5 years in a $1.1 trillion company, you know, PE of 173. I mean, that is, I mean, yeah, of course it's something. Don't get me wrong. And, you know, I think the argument for this is like, well, it opens up the door for more contracts. And I think that's a gamble. I don't think that's a given. The longer that I see these kind of two interact, and again, this isn't part of the whole, you know, being, you know, buying puts against Tesla. But again, I just, part of me feels like their relationship, Musk and Trump, you know, I mean, these are some, you know, big ego guys, right? You know, and that inevitably leads to smashing of heads. Now, let's say, hey, you know, I hope for the sake of our country that doesn't occur, right? And they work it out, and I'm not, you know, just some rampant hater on things like this. But, you know, that's a risk I think exists. So anyways, Tesla up 5.26%. I mean, I think probably at this point, I wouldn't say, you know, keep trying to bet for it going down. I still think it probably should. And that was the idea, again, of having those longer kind of contracts, like expiration dates, right, going into May, mainly because, you know, you run the risk of days like this, right, where it really kind of comes back up. I mean, you know, if we take this out in the yearly, I mean, yes, this is definitely a recovery, right? And I mean, you had that low in the 320s. That was definitely a pretty strong, especially that day as well, was pretty strong resistance. And, you know, you're back up, you had decent volume yesterday. It really gave up a lot of its gains, still closed green, but gave up a ton of gains at the end of the day. You know, you had the news last night of 400 million. It's massive. People are now speculating. You had Tim Cook tweet something, or X something, whatever that is now, saying, you know, we're about to welcome something new to the family, right? And Elon Musk retweeted it. And that doesn't really mean anything at all. But of course, this market is always looking for signs. Many of this SPX trading right now, 6,110. Wow. Resilient market, no doubt. It really is. So anyways, point on Tesla right now is I would not take any kind of, for myself, new position in that. Take a look at Roku up 1.65%. They have earnings coming up. Man, we'll talk about some earnings. Of course, we're going to have Tim Ord on today as well. But man, Hood, check it out. You know, good thing we got in there right at the end. Trading up 14.31%. This is dominant. Folks, be right there. Or stay right there. We'll be right back with Tim Ord.